Here we are in the animation area of the PDW building. This is where we are going to be taking the mug that we've created in the clay maker spaces, and using student collaboration, we will be turning that mug into a digital version.
Okay. So it starts off with your storyboarding. You've got your idea, and now you need to bring this idea to life. And that's done with really rough storyboards. These storyboards are just a series of really loose pen line work, just really loose drawings that you stitch together to get an idea of the feel of this thing that you want to create. I can present it to you guys, and you can say, oh, I don't really like this framing, I don't really like how it looks at this angle. And from there, it can evolve into modelling. Here we have Owen modelled a mug that is our main character. And so the idea was that you are transferring skills from one department to another. And so you've got your idea and your concept and your storyboarding done. Now you're realising this idea in Blender. So you model this cup, and then you pass it onto a pipeline, just as you would in a cinematic pipeline, or in feature, or in games, or any other industry standard workplace. You pass it on to the next person. And so I received the model of Owen. I go on to retopology. And what that is, it is making a model easier to work with, making it not so tricky to render out, and making the computers not work as hard to have to deal with such a dense object. And if you look at industry standard companies like ILM and things like that, they can account for more dense topology. But for something like this, where it's a bit more cartoony, you've got to kind of say, when you're bringing up these ideas, how crazy do we want to go with this? And so from there, you go from retopology to rigging. This is bringing everything that we've done so far, our storyboards, and that was the whole idea, is something that's being brought to life, it's being reanimated. And so to do this, you need to be able to add controls, something that you can use to manipulate the cup, make it squash, make it stretch, make it bounce, do whatever you'd like to do. And so here we add controls, and this is where you've got to be really strict with your topology and how your model wants to look and feel and act, because you want to give it character and emotion. So you've got your rigging, and then you pass it down the pipeline. You just pass it on to the next person. And in this case, you pass it on to the animator. My expertise, this is where I came in. This is my expertise. I could come in then and animate it with the raw footage that was provided. I can then just animate over it and then send it off to render. I would say the industry standard software is really good to use. As someone who financially wouldn't be able to afford softwares like Maya, TV Paint, both from 3D and 2D pipelines, it's just not something viable. As someone who is in a position like myself, who's not really running a studio or doing anything like that, it's great to just have access to tools like that, which I can then put into my portfolio. As in my final year now, I'm getting ready to apply for internships and things like that. And so the university is really great for bringing in people from industry. You have your golden rules of animation, anticipation, squash and stretch, ease in, all of that gets taught. But you also have your golden rules of working in animation. Things like teamwork, communication. You need to be very disciplined in how you give feedback take feedback, how you can work within a team. I think that's something that is really great here in Lincoln, is that so many group projects, you just, by the time you get to graduate, that there's no way that you're going to mess up being in a team.
Do you think that the animation department should be more inclusive of students that aren't on the course?
As it stands, it's very inclusive from other courses. As you go into your final year at university, you're working with sound, you're working with Foley, as you produce your final film. As for networking events, there's always, every year we have Industry Week. We have people from industry come in. You get to talk to them about their career and how they progress to where they are. A lot of them being from Lincoln itself, being a creative hub, you see a lot of people branch out down to London and places like that. You have faculty who's been in the industry and know how to use industry tools that are provided. But the one thing that I would say is you need a knack for storytelling, because you want to tell your story, and as long as you have a spark in you to want to create pieces of art that you want the world to see, why not?
So while animation itself isn't granted access to every student, I feel like it's important to talk about student collaboration here. Here, students can collaborate with animation students to make really amazing products. We're here, we're media students, and we've still been able to work with animation students as they've been able to use the facilities and the software to, collaborate and work together to make something amazing. What you see here is the power of networking, the power of making connections and friendships, and what those friendships can make. And what you're seeing on screen is all the work that Louie was actually able to make for us and send over as a PDF. He took us through every step and was able to learn some new skills and workflows that just aren't taught on our course. We as media students, we typically just use Blender, so it was interesting to see how Maya works and all the different workflows that come along with Maya. Overall, this was a really interesting part of the One Mug One Journey process, and I really enjoyed doing it. So that was an introduction into the animation spaces here in the Peter De Wint Building. Now, we thought it was important to include this within the documentary, as these spaces aren't actually open to any student. But these spaces offer a great way to collaborate with other students. For example, we've collaborated with animation students here and they've been able to use the facilities to make some amazing products.